All right, this is going to sound a little bit ironic considering that I run a podcast hosting company that allows you to create as many podcasts as you want for one cost, but I'm going to tell you to do less. I must be going crazy, but let's add a little bit of context here on the Podcast Accelerator today with me, Mr. Mark Asquith. Welcome to the show. It's always a pleasure to be chatting to you. I'm, of course, that British podcast guy and CEO and founder here at Rebel Base Media, where we do make podcast hosting stuff, including Captivate.fm, the world's only growth-oriented podcast host, where indeed you can start multiple podcasts just for one simple cost. And you can benefit from a fantastic user interface, amazing podcast analytics, some real deep dive stuff going on there. And of course, the world's finest looking embeddable podcast player with inbuilt calls to action and easy subscription methods. So please go and check it out for your 7-day free trial at Captivate.fm. Now, doing too much too soon, the creator curse. Doom, doom, doom. Sounds quite ominous, doesn't it? I'm quite proud of that. Came up with that, the creator curse. I'm sure it's out there on the internet. But as I was typing this out for my planning, I just thought, well, we're going to use it. Don't know if it's already out there. But I'm going to talk about the idea of doing too much too soon because you love it and it's a great idea. Okay, I'm going to talk about that in just one sec. But before I do that, quick heads up that AWeber is still giving you 90 days completely free to try their email marketing platform. Now, if you're not engaging with your listeners using high quality email marketing, then you definitely need to be doing that. Okay, so please go and check them out for 90 days totally free at markasquith.com/AWeber. Right. I love podcasting and I run 3 active shows, but I didn't start that way. And when we built Captivate, we realized that, well, creators going to create. But it's easy to do too much too soon and never gain any actual traction. Let's talk about that. What do I mean by this? Well, I'm going to kind of use the entrepreneurial world as an example. Okay. I've worked with so many podcasters who, just because they create a show, believe they are a quote-unquote entrepreneur, but never make any money, never create any product, never do anything other than have another idea in 6 months and spin up another thing. And then guess what? That doesn't make any money, doesn't go anywhere, and then they have another idea in 6 months to spin up another thing, and this perpetual cycle continues. All throughout this, people then become inevitably coaches. I'm going to talk about that on episode 92. But this is a cycle with entrepreneurs, all right? It happens a lot. I see it so much. And it's kind of, I get it, shiny object syndrome. Doesn't work, all right? The same can be said for podcasting. Now, I'm a firm believer, and I've got data, obviously, through Captivate that shows this, that if you do start a podcast, it's highly likely that you're going to start another one. I mean, look, I'm going to fire up my Captivate dashboard right now. I'm quite literally typing that in. Let's go to my Captivate dashboard. I'm going to click my shows. How many shows have I got on my account? I've got the Podcast Accelerator. I've got Captivate Insider. I've got Spark of Rebellion, the 7-Minute Mentor, plus the archives. Straight Talking Guide to Launching Your First Product. Then I've got 4 interview volumes. Straight Talking Guide to Becoming a Leader, to Learn Marketing, Build a Better Startup, Personal Development. Then I've got another Captivate show, which is a deeper dive, which is coming soon. And then we've got Steel City Business, which is our local show, which is launching very, very soon for businesses here in Sheffield. So I've got, 12 shows there? And I'm a firm believer in doing that, in creating and being free to create. That's why we create Captivate, and we don't want to stifle creativity by charging you per RSS feed. I think it's ridiculous. But you can't expect to just spin stuff up all the time. You can't just expect to say, right, when I've got this idea, I am going to do it instantly. It just doesn't work like that, because that, I believe, is the creator curse. You start podcasting and you think, oh, I bump into a person at the pub. They've got a really interesting story. I could create a podcast about this sort of stuff. Boom. You go to the golf course. You get talking to a guy about, I could create a golf podcast. You start playing Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order. I could start a Star Wars podcast. Like, we do it. We create. The problem is, with this, that's all well and good, but unless something is already successful, so unless your first show is doing what you want it to do, and you can truly say that adding another podcast into the mix isn't going to damage your marketable efforts within that show, unless you can truly say that whatever you do with a new show isn't going to damage your existing show in terms of taking time from it, you, personally, I don't believe you should be spinning up another podcast. You shouldn't, all right? Because every hour that you spend, even if you say, well, this is only going to take me an hour, It's only going to take me an hour. Well, that's all well and good. It might only take you an hour. But that's an hour taken away from marketing your current podcast, or getting ahead with something, or designing a new landing page or some Facebook ads. You know, it's taken away from this show. So if you are going to create, be damn sure that it's not going to detract from what you're already doing. And you've got to, I just think you've got to be pragmatic about this. Like if you're doing a hobby show, like Spark a Rebellion for me is a hobby show. I absolutely love it. But honestly, I don't give it the growth attention that it deserves. It's an amazing show. We love it. We've got listeners. But could we get more listeners? Well, yeah. But, you know, honestly, I don't put the time and effort genuinely into marketing that show, because if I'm doing that, I could be marketing Captivate.fm, or I could be creating stuff for Rebel Based Media. So you've just got to understand that creating and doing too much too soon is one of the biggest ways and one of the biggest reasons that I see people fail in their main thing, because they just think, well, just because I know how to do it, I probably should do it. And that is not always the case. Just because you know how to do something doesn't mean you should do something. All right. So I'm not discouraging you necessarily from diving deep into podcasting. I'm just asking you to be pragmatic and say that you shouldn't probably start that second show unless you've got a team or you've got resources and processes in place to make sure that your current show isn't going to suffer if you do create a new one. Okay? Please just understand that, because the biggest thing that we see with all podcasters, doesn't matter who you are, how big you are, the biggest thing that we see is that people just want more downloads. That's it. That is it. People just want more downloads. Okay? If you want more downloads, you aren't going to get more downloads by creating more content or by adding extra shows into your repertoire. You aren't going to do that. You're going to increase your show's exposure, your brand's reach, by marketing it and spending time and maybe some money telling people that you exist. All right? So just be careful of this creator curse. I'm a sucker for it. Like, I love spinning up shows. I've got so many ideas for shows, and eventually I'm sure that I'll get to them. But, you know, right now, I'm all right with what I've got. Okay? I just want you to ask yourself that question when you get that next jump out of the shower idea. We want to support that. We want you to be doing that. Of course we do. We want you to be doing that. But I want you to be doing it in the right way, for the right reasons, at the right time. Remember, just because a great idea is doable doesn't mean you should do it right now. Stick it on the shelf. And when you're happy with the automation, the processes, the marketability, everything that you've got in your current show, only then consider adding more strings to your bow. All right? Just think that through before you start spinning up brand new shows every single week. And like I said, I'm a sucker for that. So heed that advice. Let me know what you think. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Asquith if you, if you want to discuss that, you want to get into the weeds on that a little bit, hit me up. Always a pleasure to chat. You know me. And until the next time, thank you for joining me. Do check out Captivate.fm and have a wonderful day, whatever you're up to. And never forget, the more you expect from yourself, the more you will excel.